Hello everyone. We were talking about cluster analysis, specifically about the k-means clustering algorithm, and we took a look at one of a very simple example in order to go through the steps of the algorithm. And the same steps have been summarized on this particular slide. So basically what this says is that you first decide a value of k. K represents the number of clusters. Then you assign k random seeds, and to begin with, these random seeds can be randomly chosen observations in the data. Then you start allocating points to each seed based on proximity to the seed, and that completes your first iteration. After the clusters have been updated, you define the new centroids as the seeds. The centroid this time is a calculated center, and it represents the average coordinates of the observations in a particular cluster. Then you reassign observations to the cluster based on proximity to the centroids, and you reiterate till the boundary of the clusters does not change. And in real situations, you would see that this solution would converge anywhere from 5 to 25 iterations. The number of iteration required for convergence can depend on a couple of factors. It could be the data itself and also on the tool that you are using. When we will do an example of k-means clustering using sklearn, which is the machine learning library in Python, then we will talk about some of the aspects of the number of iterations and how does the tool decide on that. Okay, so now since we have gone through an example and you have a good understanding of the steps in the algorithm, I want to take you through another perspective, which is a mathematical construct of looking at the same algorithm. And I would emphasize on a few aspects of that. So let's look through that. So basically, the problem of k-means clustering, if you think about it as a mathematical problem, what we say is that there are k unobserved groups. So the unobserved groups are essentially representing the k clusters. And why do we call it unobserved? Is because given a data, you don't initially know that what will be the group membership of each observation, or in other words, when you get the entire data set, it kind of represents a single cluster which has all the observations in it. Once you decide a value of k, then based on the algorithm that we discussed, you will start assigning observations to these groups, one of the k groups basically. So that is the meaning of unobserved groups. The other thing I want to talk about is we're only looking at few aspects of this algorithm. We don't need to really go into mathematical formulae, but I do want to talk about some intuition behind some of these things. So then we talked about unobserved groups. The other thing we talk about is the manifest or the observed variables. So the columns in the data are known as manifest variables because that is the information you have about each observation, and you will be using these columns to assign membership to one of the k groups. So that is basically some of the terminology. I'm not really going into each of these slides here. This is for you to go through if you wanted to. The reason why I have introduced this mathematical construct is for a very specific reason. So let me go to one of the most important things that I want to talk about here. So basically the reason why we are talking about this is this metric which is called the SSE. So the SSE, or in other words, the sum of squared error. Okay, so let's try to understand that a bit more. So this SSE, or the sum of squared errors, it's also called the total within cluster variation. So going back to the goal or objective of clustering, what we said is that the assignment of observations to groups will be done in such a manner that the within cluster distances will be minimized and across cluster distances will be maximized. So in other words, what we are saying is that whenever a set of observations belong to a group, we want that those mutual distances should be should be least, or should be as low as possible. So when we start thinking about this in terms of variation, what we are saying is that the total within cluster variation should be minimized. So now in what we're really doing is we are looking at the k-means clustering problem as an optimization problem, essentially, where we are minimizing the total sum of squared errors. So once you have completed the particular iteration of the algorithm, you will see that observations are assigned to different groups, and at that point, for a given solution, you can find out that what is the total within cluster variation for that iteration. And since we are minimizing this total within cluster variation, from one iteration to the other, the SSE should be going down, or it should be reducing. So your SSE should be going down, and when from a particular iteration to the next iteration, the SSE does not change much, then we say that the solution has converged, or the algorithm has converged. Okay, so this is basically something important to remember, that what is this SSE. Now, based on what I just discussed, the same algorithm which we looked at in very simple layman terms, now you can start thinking about it in a little bit more technical manner, which is basically the steps that are given here. So you select an initial set of cluster centers or seeds called the random seeds. Then you assign observations. You assign observations to the clusters whose mean is closest based on the Euclidean distance. Then you compute the new cluster means or the centroids, and then you compute the SSE for a given iteration, and then you repeat the steps 2 to 5 till there is no or very small change in SSE from step 4, and that is when your algorithm is said to have converged. Okay, so this is basically a mathematical way of looking at the k-means clustering algorithm. So what's going to happen in tools such as Python or any other tool? Basically, the algorithm needs to be coded internally, and the system needs to know that what are the stopping conditions, or what is the objective of that particular algorithm. And when those conditions are met, then the algorithm is said to have converged. So that is why we took a look at SSE, because earlier on we were saying that that the solution will stop iterating when the clusters have become stable. So that is a very layman's manner of saying, of stating this. In mathematical construct, what we said is that the SSE will not change from one iteration to the other, and that is when the algorithm is said to have converged. Okay, so before I end this video, I do want to talk about one more aspect of k-means clustering. So I want to talk about some of the challenges of k-means clustering algorithm. So remember, whenever you study about any specific algorithm or technique in machine learning, it's very important to understand, first of all, you should understand the algorithm itself, and then you should also understand what are some of the shortcomings of that algorithm, or what are the situations when the algorithm might not give you good results, etc. So now, what I said is that k-means clustering algorithm is an optimization problem where we are minimizing the SSE, and it is a specific type of an optimization problem. It's called a combinatorial optimization problem, and it's computationally very difficult. So what that means is that given a set of n observations, the problem is to assign observations into k clusters such as you get the minimum SSE. Now that can be done in many different ways, and the number of ways or number of permutations in which this can be done becomes computationally very expensive. In fact, it becomes infeasible. So what happens is that a lot of times the algorithm will settle down for a local minima instead of looking for a global minima. And that is the characteristic of the problems that belong to the area of into the category of combinatorial optimization problems, and they are known to be computationally very difficult. Now, what it also means is that, as a negative of the algorithm, that the algorithm does not guarantee same solution. What it means is that depending on your initial seeds or how your random observations were, the algorithm can give you a different optimal solution each time. And that is why people who are researching in this particular area, they often try to solve the problem with different starting seeds, and then they can choose a set of optimal selection of seeds, which might not be completely random. Okay, and also I want to tell you that different tools do this a little differently. In fact, a lot of tools have their their own specialized or sometimes proprietary ways of choosing a set of initial seeds based on a better than random guess, is what we can say. Okay, and so essentially that is one of the drawbacks, and that is something that we will look out for. We will talk more about it when we will solve some of the real examples using Python, when we work on real data set. Okay, so that's the end of this video.